Yes, dear audience, I also want to thank first Areiopagia for inviting me to discuss here, and especially Alistair McGraw, because his book has been opened my eyes. I read it a couple of days ago, and my comments I wrote before I read the book, and so some of the comments have some of the same truths that we both have found. And especially I like this expression, big picture, because it's very nice expression for our life outside science too. My background is forestry. I am a forest researcher. Now I am a retired professor of growth and yield studies from Metsäntutkimuslaitos, Finnish Forest Research Institute. And so I have been working with biological questions like tree and forest growth. And when measuring annual rings, I have worked with silviculture, so that means forest management, man-made forests, but also during the last 10 years about climate change. And I'm happy because I make forecast for the past. Here you see in this picture a couple of old fossil trees lying in the mud of small lakes in Lapland. And the oldest one here was born 4,795 years before Christ. That means that our universe is at least, or our globe is at least 6,810 years old. But we have also found older trees, and so we have just now a continuous chronology of 7,600 years in Finnish Lapland. And it's really exact chronology, yearly chronology, and I have sometimes said that we can now say how Scotch pine was growing in Lapland the year when Jesus Christ was born, if the theologists can agree which year he was born. But then, first of all, Jari Jolkkonen told yesterday that religion is a vague expression. I also think so. And he said that Christian theism is much better, and for me this Christianity is much more simple because I am no expert in theological questions. And so my only theological term is faith. And in faith I need only two places in the Bible to know everything. First is John 3:16, where he said that God has loved us so much that he gave his Son, and now we have eternal life. And the second place is Luke 10:27, where he said that you must first love God and then your neighbors as yourself. And I think this is the message of the whole Bible, and everything that's going outside this, they are not anymore so important. But they are important for theologists to make study anyway, and also good to read. After these two simple places or dots in the Bible, we all have three big questions that also Alistair mentioned. And the questions are, the first question is the most difficult, it's who. Is there something behind this all, or is everything started by accident? Who started the engine? And all of us are interested in this, and maybe theologians are the best experts to answer this question. Anyway, they have better theories than natural scientists. And then the second question is what? What can we see here in the universe and in the globe? And still all of us are very interested to see all the miracles that are in our earth. And there, all of us who have eyes or ears, we are some kind of experts to see what is happening around us, but maybe scientists are the best in some narrow questions that can be studied by science. And then the third question is how was everything started and how is everything developing here in the universe? And that's there the scientists are the best experts, but not all scientists are experts in all questions. And that's also sometimes the problem, because many professors are thinking that they are omniscient experts in all questions, scientific questions. And then there's a big question also, are the natural sciences threatening the message of the Bible, or that means the God? And first, if we take this question, who? Is there a creator or on Big Bang by chance or made by a creator? So if we think, is this threatening, this belief threatening natural science, or is natural science threatening this? So we can very clearly say no. I'm quite sure that there is no natural scientist who can answer this question. We can only think about this question, and this belongs to this big picture that Alistair showed us. And then, if we think about what is this like, what is the structure of the universe, and I think that this is also the answer is no. There, the natural science is not threatening this, because if there's God or not, the universe is just now as it is, and we have Earth, Sun, and stars, and we can study this astonishing universe by scientists. But then this third question, how has everything happened, and how has everything after start continued? So what's the content and time scale of processes? And then we can find some problems if we read the Bible narrowly, word by word. If we think that we never can have 7,600 years old trees, or if we are saying that there is no evolution, so then we are in problems. Or if we say that God was made this universe in 7 man days. And I think that if we have the Almighty God, He can do how He wants. He can use evolution, and He can use His own days. They are not maybe the same days as we have, because at the beginning there was no earth, and there was no sun, and there was no days and nights. And so these days were before our days. And then one important thing why the Bible must not be read word by word or understood word by word is that, like Alistair yesterday told, so this Bible was written thousands of years ago, and so at that time there were not these kind of expressions like gravity or evolution, or Big Bang, or theory of relativity, or so. And so I think this is the only part where we can get problems if we are reading Bible in the wrong way. And then I have this last question: do we need consensus between natural scientists, politicians, and church? And Alistair yesterday told something about the church in the 15th and 16th century, and if I remember right, you were saying that there was so much politics in church at that time that it spoiled this discussion between science and church, because church wanted to be politician and also scientists. And so I say that we never must try to find consensus between natural scientists, politicians, and church. We only must discuss. And why is it never? First thing is that we must never have this consensus, because science is based on skepticism. And that means that all scientists must always doubt old truths, and they must try something new hypothesis, and then make research on this. If we researchers start to make some consensus with politicians, so then our truths are going away or they disappear. And then the politics is based only on consensus and compromises, and that's because politicians and decision makers, they must make decisions and act. And so they must have consensus, and they must use scientific information if there is that, and then they must have this money is one important thing, and also people. So they need consensus. And what about the church? The task of the church is to disseminate the gospel and Christian love among people, I think, very, very shortly. And I think that there can be risk. I don't now say our church or any other churches, but there is a risk that they sometimes have been acting as political or scientific organizations, like in the 15th century. And so here in the history we have seen this geocentric, heliocentric world, creation or evolution, timescales from days to thousands or billions of years. They are the old ones. But now we also have at this time some research or scientific questions that have the risk that also the church starts to be scientific organization. And I show two examples. European forest decline in the 1980s. At that time, we saw in the newspapers and TV that European forests are dying. And we had forecast that we heard that they are dying in 10 or 20 years. And that was a problem for the scientists because people thought there's no need for scientific work anymore. At that time, we were happy because we still had money in research organizations, and not only this political free money, but also these institutions had own money. And so happened in 25 European countries that we made together a study about tree growth in different European countries. And they were not showing any forest decline or forest dieback. They were showing that almost everywhere in Central Europe and Southern Europe, trees were growing better than ever in the 20th century. And in our northern parts of Europe, there were no increase or decrease. And we were happy because here this increase was caused by nitrogen deposition from cars and agriculture, and so they got some nitrogen fertilization from the earth. But anyway, this episode was very hard also for researchers, because then there were so many organizations that were quite sure that now we know enough and no any more science is needed. And then the second one is climate change, and now this is a very hot topic, and I don't want to be against these facts that we already have. We know that we have these greenhouse gases that are increasing all the time, and we know that they have impact on warming climate. But then we also have sun that is very poorly studied, and then we have these ocean currents, and then we have winds, and we have still much more to study here, and we also must remember that these climate change models, they are only models, like yesterday also Alistair said, that model is not the real world, it's only some kind of model from what is reality. And we can say that also these models are still now, they are maybe somehow too complicated for man, but maybe too simple for the reality. And so I think that we still need this kind of research. But why am I saying this? Because now there is a risk that church and politicians are coming together with researchers. And so I would here say that church must discuss with scientists and politicians, and they must try to find so much information as possible also in this big question. And then the church must warn and advise people to act against greediness. That's the reason for our nature problems. But then I say that church must not anyway become one with politics and natural sciences. And if so happens, if we make a mixture of faith, believing, religion, science, and politics, so then we are in big problems. Because church has its message and actions based on this message. His message and natural sciences must only look for scientific truths. They must not make compromises with politicians or church. And the politicians must look for consensus and act. And why is it important that the church is not going into science as scientists? Because we have hundreds of millions of people in the world. And the church, not maybe here, but everywhere in the world, they have very strong power. It's spiritual and mental power. And if the church, let's say Pope is saying something, so there are hundreds of millions of people that agree. And if Pope is saying that now we know enough for some question in natural science, and says that now it must be stopped. So in quite many countries there are politicians and also decision makers and financiers that think this is right, and then some research will be stopped. And this is maybe the problem we must be aware. Thank you.